the war stimulated the technical development. I think over the last just 1.5 years, hundreds of new startups and new inventions were started. And if the West will support this direction, I think Ukraine can become one of the most developed country in terms of military capabilities. And it means a lot for the West because Ukraine defend the West from the Russia.
Russia and Ukraine have exchanged more airstrikes after a week of intensifying rhetoric in which Russia tested a new missile on Ukraine. Russia's made close to 1,500 drone and missile strikes on Ukraine in the last 24 hours, and Ukraine's military says it has struck a key oil depot south of Moscow and targets in the Bryansk and Kursk border regions. Many parts of Ukraine have suffered power cuts after the energy infrastructure was targeted, and there are growing concerns about the escalation of the war after American and British missiles were used on Russian soil and a Russian intermediate-range ballistic missile hit the Ukrainian city of Dnipro. So, throughout all of this, how do Ukraine's businesses keep going? I've been speaking to Serhii Haidaichuk, founder and president of the Chief Executive Club Ukraine, the country's largest business club.
The war in Ukraine already going on for 3 years. And almost every day we have sirens, we have drones and bombs across the country. Almost every day. Sometimes it's 50 drones, sometimes 200 drones. So we already adapted to such a life. We already perceive this as a normal everyday life. So nothing new for us.
But when you have, for example, power cuts, energy infrastructure knocked out and so on, quite apart from the trauma, it must be very difficult indeed just to keep businesses going.
Yeah, it's not an easy to do business in such circumstances. But again, over the last 3 years, we already adapted. Each of our businesses, each of our family already has this small power station that can generate electricity without the central electrical support. And that is why, again, we are adapted to these circumstances.
There are big concerns at the moment about the escalation of the war, about the war spreading. But how much do you need the West to continue to support Ukraine, not just militarily, but in terms of investing, just to keep the day-to-day life and businesses going in Ukraine?
Okay, I can give you my honest answer for that. I think because the hesitation of West for the last 3 years, because the lack of strong actions, because the lack of confidence, we have these 3 years of war. That is why we lost dozens of thousands of our lives, because the West don't want to accept that there is a global war. And this war attacked the core of values of Western civilization. This war is not against Ukraine. This war is against the whole world. But I don't know, maybe there is a lack of leadership, maybe there is a lack of political elites, but we are in the war because the West is not provided enough support to Ukraine, unfortunately. And just imagine that in some time, the Russians will be near the Kiev again. And the West should take a radical decision to send their troops to Ukraine or to to leave Ukraine with Russia. It means that it will be the end of the Western civilization. That is why I think without unity, without strong confidence, without strong decisions, it's impossible to end this war.
We know that your President Zelensky has come up with his peace plan, and part of that involves Ukraine developing more of its own defence infrastructure, its own defence industry. Do you think there is the capacity within Ukraine to do that?
You know, the capacity is huge thanks to our human capital. The war stimulated the technical development. I think over the last just 1.5 years, hundreds of new startups and new inventions were started. And if the West will support this direction, I think Ukraine can become one of the most developed country in terms of military capabilities. And it means a lot for the West because Ukraine defend the West from the Russia.
So, given everything that you have said, how concerned are you about the prospect of Donald Trump returning to the White House? He, of course, has talked about resolving the war within 24 hours. Are you concerned that he could try to cut a deal with President Putin, or do you think that he could actually pave the way for a meaningful solution to the conflict?
You know, I think the war, such a war we have in Ukraine, is a very complex situation. It is impossible to end the war within the day or several days. And I don't want to apply to US. I would like to apply to UK, for example. I think that this is the moment for Europe and this is the moment for UK to take the lead. In such world that we have today, the world of chaos, turbulence, crisis, we need leadership. There is lack of leadership. And this is the moment for Europe and especially for UK to take this leadership, despite what US will do in the future. Because I think that US will be isolated more and more from the European issues. So, listen, for us, there is no way to retreat. We have to survive. We have to fight. Doesn't matter what US will do. Doesn't matter what Europe will do. We have to survive, and we will be defend ourselves in any circumstances. Even if Zelensky will decide to finish the war, I doubt that he will be capable to do this because there are complex of challenges behind that.
Many people listening to this might have expected you, as someone who is primarily concerned with the businesses in Ukraine, to be wanting peace almost at any price. But you sound as though you are saying that Ukraine should not be prepared, for example, to give up territory in return for peace.
It's not an easy question for me because it's a complex question. Maybe there is a compromise for that, because if we are not ready to fight to the end of our people, that is why I think we should have compromise if there will be enough security guarantee from the West. With such a circumstances, I think can be a deal. Without security guarantees, the deal is impossible.
Well, that was Serhii Haidaichuk, founder and president of the CEO Club Ukraine, the country's largest business club, speaking to me just a little earlier.